Welcome back, everybody, to Chazin-the-Dream. I'm Ethan Chazin, a New York-based business development coach, and I'm so excited to have Chason Forehand with us. I want to give you a little bit of background into Chason's experience, his career, his lifetime journey, and then we're going to dive right into a deep conversation. So Chason's dedication to putting people first started with him putting himself first. His journey began with a turbulent childhood and a rocky start to adolescence. He found himself in a challenging set of circumstances, flunking out of school, battling drug addiction, homelessness as an adult. One day, while Chason was looking for work, he walked into a restaurant, which was one of the few places that he could work without prior experience or a degree. And that's when two very important things happened for Chason. First, he embraced the positive side of his set of circumstances and committed to working hard to become a chef, which became a personal passion of his. And second, it became glaringly obvious to him that in the industry and many others, they didn't pay living wages. He immediately recognized an opportunity to make an impact that would not only alter the trajectory of his own life, but leave a lasting mark on literally millions of other people. So with that mission as his driving pursuit of passion, he decided to start a nonprofit called HR4U with an individualized approach to advocacy. HR4U and Chason have built an amazing reputational brand which empowers change-driven companies and their leaders to advocate for and uplift their employees with living wages, a critically powerful sense of self-worth and well-being. So Chason applies a specialized grassroots approach to empower change-driven leaders to stand up, speak out, take action. His approach includes strategically collaborating with other nonprofits to shine a light on leaders who prioritize people first. This is all driven by Chason's 30 years of commitment to pursuing a people-first passion and experiences that he's had throughout his career in HR, diversity, equity, inclusion. For 3 straight years, HR4U has earned the Platinum Seal of Transparency from Candid for their significant efforts and dedication to people. Their newest program, which we're going to talk a little bit about, is called Transformation Kitchen, and it's designed to provide future employees with skilled training. What's Chason's mantra? Do good, be kind, spread joy. Without further ado, Chason, welcome to Chazin-the-Dream.
Love it. That was incredible. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's the narrative arc of your career and your journey. And that's what I wanted to dive into, and which is why I'm so appreciative you're joining us today, Chason. So if you could start out, I mean, I don't want to fast forward to HR4U. Ideally, what I'd love to kind of get your insights on is your experience. You walk into a restaurant, you say, I could do this. And then you start working there. And what were some of the experiences and kind of the takeaways that you gained from your time spent in pursuit of becoming a chef?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that when you walk into most restaurants, even restaurant chains, even ones that are really well organized, one of the last pieces that ever comes into place is human resources. Human resources in the 80s is having a come to Jesus meeting out in the back by the dumpsters, and that's where all the courageous conversations happen. And so my journey as a guy who was struggling but still put on the good face and started to work to get through those struggles while I was in that industry, I was given the opportunities to train people, to hire people, to have courageous conversations. So I learned that it was called human resources. I learned that there were laws in place that had to be followed. I learned that, there are things that you can do to enhance the employee experience and to put people first so that you have better retention. And those are the pieces that along my journey, taking classes, going to seminars, learning, you know, I'm still a person that loves the library. I still love books. I still love reading. I'm still old school in that way. But now you have access to everything online and at your fingertips on your phones. But I went and actually would participate in-person events and going to the library and doing research because I wanted to do a better job. And that culminated into not only later on me going into the human resources field, but also it allowed me to learn how to do a better job in my roles. So I would be in a place, whether I was, it didn't matter what my title was, where I was planted in an organization, we would have better retention, not only than anybody else around us, any other restaurant that we competed with, or in anybody in our state, and doing 2 to 3 times better than anybody anywhere around. And that created more profits. We reduced a lot of costs. You know the whole drill, from a business standpoint. When you have better retention and you keep people and they're happy and they're more productive and they feel like you care about them and their well-being, your bottom line is going to thrive. So your P&L all the way around is going to be much better and much more lucrative. So those are the things we start to learn about putting people first and making those kind of decisions. So that's how my journey kind of started and where I went in to creating my own human resources company while I was still working for corporate America.
Well, when did that aha moment happen for you, or did it, where you said, you know what? I really think I like this thing called HR. I really feel passionate about the people side of the business. Let me see if I can pursue something on my own to kind of wind in the sails of my career trajectory. Like, when did that happen for you?
I, well, the first time, it was earlier than this. It was probably in 2000, but in 2012, I took my first client that was not related to me somehow. Didn't go to my church, wasn't a relative, wasn't a fan, in my immediate family or friends. And that was exhilarating. You've got someone who doesn't know you, who's paying you to do your thing. Like that's a, for someone who comes from an addictive personality, like that's addictive to have that like, hey, we want to hire you because we've heard great things, or that is like, that makes you feel, you just spike, you just got an endorphin spike from that, so I think from 2012 on, as I started to build, that's really where the magic started happening. But way before that, I learned the power of people, and I applied it to every single place. And it's why I was wildly successful in every place I went, where, I'm thinking in my head about this one place that I worked, where I was responsible for all the locations on the entire East Coast. 75 locations, thousands of employees. And this whole group, out of 3 other, 3 regions, we were number 1 all the time. Not a single month went by where we weren't number 1 in year over year, over projection. We won every contest. And when I say won, like we would win the grand prize, the first prize, the second prize, like there's no one close to us. And it was them. It was the power of these amazing people. I learned how to start surrounding myself with brilliant people that just wanted to do, like, we want to be successful, and I'm just going to keep surrounding myself with these awesome people. And I'm not a big Apple fan. I've got my little Samsung phone here, and I'm on a laptop that's made by Alienware and Dell. But I will tell you that I love that mantra from early on in Apple's career, in the Apple building of their products and their company, that they were always going to surround the company and surround the executives and surround themselves with brilliant people and let them do their thing. And I think that that really resonates with me, because that to me is how you get great teams together. You build great teams and those teams thrive. And I've seen it in action. I've actually seen the benefits of making that happen firsthand.
And you talk about surrounding yourself with great people and give them the support they need, get out of their way, and watch the magic happen.
Yep.
The success of that is just it's a straight through result, right? Of your ability to kind of surround yourself with those great people. What's the process of finding them? Because obviously that requires maybe a different approach to talent acquisition, to finding the right people. And the other thing is, how do you do that in an industry like the restaurant business, which I was a busboy, I was a waiter putting myself through school. I kind of saw what that was like. It's a churn and burn. They
Yep.
go through people, incredible stress, incredible hours, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, just to kind of do the work. How'd you build a culture that achieved a consistent, constant, high level of performance?
I think there's two major things. One, you're talking to a person who's an addict that in May will be clean for 33 years. So I understood, thank you. I understood the process that your addictions just follow you, they move with you, and you've got to change and focus them in a direction. So taking those addictions and that addictive personality, putting it into your work, into what you do, focusing in that way. There's an amazing runner called Charlie Engle, who was a severe drug addict, that he runs now, and he does competitive running, and he's written, New York Times bestseller books, and he would sit there and look at his shoes and talk about how much he hated those shoes, and he hated the running, but he took his addiction and put it into that running, and every day that's what kept him from falling backwards. That's one. So I know the path. I know where people are coming from. I know what that lifestyle looks like in those 80-hour work weeks and that churn and burn. And I didn't want them to have that kind of lifestyle. So how do we correct that? How do we make it to where people don't have to live that way?
And that's my question, is you're getting to the kind of where I was going so eloquently, is how? Because you're taking a fundamentally, you have throughout your career, taken a fundamentally different track on that. So how do you do that, given your inside knowledge of the heart and mind of an individual who's kind of driven that way?
Give space for people to show up as they are. Listen more than you speak. Create the environment where it's not all about you, it's about the people that you are serving. And when they feel like they can show up in a safe place, give feedback, be themselves, and they're going to be supported, then this magic starts to happen. Because people don't believe it at first. They've been through, just like you said, you saw it, and people see it, they know it. They know what that lifestyle is because they've been told by society what that lifestyle is. They've been to restaurant X, Y, and Z, and that's the way it was in X, Y, and Z. Now they come here, and they come and they say, you know what? I don't understand. Why is this so different? So at first they don't fully embrace it because they think, oh, there's something wrong. This is a joke. Like I'm gonna fall in this trap, and I'm gonna fully commit to this, and something's gonna happen. You're gonna pull the wool over my eyes. Especially for us New Yorkers, and we're sitting here going, okay, yeah, no, there's something wrong with this. But no, after you get through the skepticism, because they see over and over each day after day after day, oh, wait a minute, this is a safe place. Oh, wait a minute. I just told him I didn't like something and he didn't fire me. He didn't chew me out. He took the information. He thanked me for the information. And a week later, we're making a few changes because they thought that this was a great idea. When people feel valued, when they feel like you care about them and you show that in your daily activity by showing up, by listening, by letting them thrive and bloom where they are, and you do this on a consistent basis, then that's when change starts to happen, because pouring into people is a daily event. Just like when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, or anything else that's building a culture or leadership in general, it is a daily event. It's not a checkbox. And that's where the magic happens. And you asked about recruiting. I'm a big, big fan of watching everything around me. So I like local businesses and local places, and I go and support, but I'm always watching. I'm always looking at what's happening around me. I sit down at the restaurant and you see the manager sitting in the office over in the corner, and meanwhile the place is bustling, and the manager doesn't even look up from his desk or whatever he's doing, but you see, the bus boys trying to keep up with the tables, and they're turning the table. You see what's happening, and you're coming from that, that place where you were in that grind. And so you start to figure things out. And I like to go and I would actively recruit people and talk to them honestly about, here's what life will look like when you come work for us. And here's a couple people I'd like you to go talk to that actually work for us, so that you can get a better sense. And if you feel like at the end of talking to them and doing your research that this is a place that you want to come, then let's talk more. You would not believe how wildly successful that simple conversation has been over the years.
Yeah, I actually would actually, because when you and I talk about this, this is a little bit fundamentally different, and many organizations still don't apply that kind of core creed of compassion and caring and empowerment. So, and especially as we were talking about in the restaurant business, which is still so cutthroat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I guess my question is kind of like a bridge from that kind of set of experience you've had to going out and saying, I'm going to create a practice where I give advice and counsel to organizations to transform their cultures and to start to apply this kind of magical pixie dust of employee empowerment. What did that entail for you? The going out full time and doing it, and what's been kind of your advice, counsel, secret sauce for coaching organizations to get to where you have been throughout your career?
Well, I'll back up for 1 second and just say briefly that I didn't think that I was going to do this in this way. It kind of happened by accident. So in 2018, I left my last corporate gig. The end of 2018, I left my last corporate gig, and I was in a place that was just toxic. Just, they hired me, they paid me a gaggle of money. I had an office on Fifth Avenue in New York. I thought I had, like, this is, plant your flag. This is gorgeous. This is like the best. And we're building something strong. This is fantastic. And every time I would build something, every time I would create something, the owner would just turn around behind and naysay anything that was going on.
Oh
But to
boy.
my face would be like, I love what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Here's some more money.
Oh boy.
And I went through this for a period of time until I can't take this anymore. Like, and the culmination was we had spent all this time, effort, and money creating our own brand and starting to open these stores, these food-based brand everywhere, doing the research, doing the marketing, doing all this stuff. And it just was for the 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards kind of thing was so knee jerk that I couldn't take it anymore. So at the end of 2018, I had enough clients. I was going to take a major bump in all of my, in money, and I'm going to be responsible for my own healthcare, but it was worth it. I didn't have a crystal ball to know that we had a pandemic coming around the corner. So here I have all of these clients in New York City and Westchester County and abroad. And now the pandemic happens and 75% of my clients just go poof. And the ones that don't go poof now can't, because their businesses are basically shuttered. They're just holding on by straws. They don't have the funding to really do much of the work that I had been doing with them. The world was on fire. Things were changing. I started doubling down on doing more pro bono work for nonprofits because they were just getting killed. No one wanted to volunteer anymore. No one wanted to leave their house. How do you change your entire volunteer staff to this virtual thing, and yet you're feeding the homeless or taking care of, like, you physically need people. So what do you do? How do you do it? So I started using my HR company to help nonprofits more than I had been. I was doing that before, and I was volunteering. I've been doing that for years. I've actually worked for nonprofits, but this was a concentrated effort. And because of that, it changed my trajectory to where now my human resources company only deals with social good entities. My client base is all social good entities. That's all I will take on. And even then, I'm very picky about what I take on, because 30% of that time, 30% of my time is with the human resources consulting company, and 70% of my time is with the nonprofit, which we formed in 2022. So here I am in 2020, I've changed how I'm going to conduct business with my human resources company, my for-profit. And in 2 years later, I saw, after helping all these nonprofits, I saw a great need. I saw the fact that too many nonprofits are not collaborating together, that they are so worried about, I won't get the funding, or you may take my volunteers, or I'm not going to. They're so worried about the internal workings that they don't realize that by working together and collaborating together, all ships will rise. Everyone will benefit. You're not going to have to worry about. Imagine what we could do in the world, not just the United States, but what we could do in the world if every single nonprofit really honed their skills together. Like, oh, you need this? I got this. I know people that can do it. Like, you started really working together and collaborating together. Imagine how quickly and effectively we could eliminate socioeconomic issues. But nonprofits in general, and this is a general statement because not everybody's like this, but in general, nonprofits don't work that way. It's all about internal. And you get some high-level executives that have come from for-profit worlds, because at the end of the day, a nonprofit is still a business. So even though we talk about it being not for-profit, that is true. However, it still has to be run like a business. And when it's not, that's why you have 67% of all nonprofits fail in the first 5 years, because they don't start with a foundation that allows them to move in a positive direction. So to circle back around to answer your question, we wanted to make sure that we collaborate with other people. So we have 80 some odd, I don't even remember the last, because I've got 4 new partners coming on this week. We have 80 some odd partners now. We started out in 2022 with 8.
Wow.
So in 2 years, less than less than 2 years, because it'll be September of 2022. So September of this year, in less than 2 years, we've gone from 8 to over 80. We create partners pages. We put links on our website. We shout out what they're doing, and we use the power of social media, and we use the power of our partners to get through to leaders and companies that want to create change. They understand fundamentally that when they put people first, when they pay living wages, when they care about their people, that they will thrive. That is a challenge. Trying to go up to a C-suite person who's been in C-suite for decades and tell them that you're going to change their saddle is like, taking their bonuses and what you're taking from them is the way they look at it. But we're not. We're teaching them how to make even more money. So we use the power of our network. You're having problems with communication and you don't understand like why your people are always fighting, and you're going into boardrooms and you're having meetings and these people just can't communicate. I've got people in our network, in our partner group that specialize in conflict resolution, communication, etc. You need DEIAB work. I'm not talking about the box checking. Oh, we just want to put a plug and play thing, because that doesn't exist. You want some real work done? I have people that are in our partner program that are Jefferson Award winners, that are certified trainers that have done decades of work and understand what those words mean. They're not just letters. They're not just a phrase. What that daily work is going to look like, and will help your company do that. That's the power of the collaboration. Find great people, surround yourself with that. And when you talk to leaders from 2020, in September of 2022 to September of 2023, I talked to almost 700 leaders. 80% of them were either committed to paying a living wage and doing that work, or already were. The other 20% were people that are not there yet. But that's a huge stat to say we're having this impact and being able to show them the power of what real change looks like, and how you can stay out of the news and not be one of those companies that just laid off 500 people. When you're intentional about your steps so that you do the right things, and that leads to happier people, more well-rounded, holistically, mentally, and physically well. They're going to stay at work. They're going to be at work. They're present. They're productive. They're happy. You retain them longer. They come up with great ideas. They feel safe. That is not it shouldn't be a new concept, because people a lot smarter than this hockey dude have been talking about it forever. MIT, Forbes, Money, Harvard, all have been talking about this for decades. But if you take this approach and you move in a forward direction and you start to take the steps, it doesn't have to be this overnight, we're going to change everything, and tomorrow you're going to come in on Monday and it's going to be Shangri-La. Take the intentional steps to make this happen in your business and get the help. Realize that you need to get help to make it happen, and recognize the people within your organization that can do this as well, that have these skills. That comes from talking to your people, from listening to your people, from being part and being one with your people. And we don't see that enough even today. And that's a problem. And that is why we have so many companies that still struggle. And my hope is that more leaders will start to listen, will start to learn, and will make that shift, that subtle shift. it'll make a big difference.
So this has been phenomenal. Chasen, to your point, if somebody were predisposed to want to have a conversation with you about taking the necessary steps, where they're in a stage where they're ready to listen and learn, and most importantly, act, how would they reach you to have a conversation to dive a little bit deeper than what we've talked about?
I'm pretty accessible. So I mean, I have on LinkedIn, our website, and even LinkedIn, website, and YouTube are our three biggest channels. But you can find my link tree, which has all of my links, and that's probably one of the easier ways to grab everything. But that's yeah, I you can find me pretty much out there. I'm happy to give out my information.
Yeah, so just for everybody listening in at home or wherever, all of Jason's contact details are going to be in the description below. So if you like what you heard, be sure to like it, share it with other people, subscribe to the channel. Hey, Jason, thanks so much for coming on Chasing the Dream and sharing your knowledge and a career spent really fighting the good fight to transform organizations thinking about and acting on their people-centric initiatives. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.